The Van Dyke family lived in a two-story home in the small town of Rosmalen, Netherlands. Mr. and Mrs. Van Dyke were proud parents to two wonderful boys, Sven and Levin. Every morning in their peaceful household, Mrs. Van Dyke would be the first to wake up, open the curtains, let in the fresh breeze, after which she would bring in the day's water from the well. Once breakfast would be ready, she would wake up her husband and her sons. "Levin, Sven, it's time to wake up." "Levin, where's your brother?" "I'm here, Mother." Mrs. Van Dyke held her head, seeing her younger son Sven about to leap from the wardrobe onto his brother in attempt to wake up the late snoozer. "Wake up!" This is Levin and Sven, 10 and 8 years old. Levin was a relaxed, peaceful, cautious child, until this one joined the family 2 years later. And it had been non-stop mayhem in the house since. Not to say they weren't good children, they were lovely. But they just knew how to drive their mother crazy. Just the other day, one of their neighbors had showed up at the house. Mrs. Alder, with her son, who so happened to have a big bruise on his forehead. "Mrs. Alder, how did this happen?" "Sven did this to me." "Mrs. Van Dyke, this kind of behavior is unacceptable. There could have been a worse accident." Mrs. Van Dyke was awfully embarrassed. Her two boys were going out of control, and their mischief had to be brought to a stop. "What do you think you two boys were doing? Have I not told you to stay out of trouble when you go out to play?" "It's not his fault, Mom. That little twerp kept pushing Sven and laughing at us." "Levin, so this is what you're going to teach your brother?" "Someone's got to stand up and teach that twerp a lesson. He deserved it." "You boys, I'm letting this go this time, but I'm warning you, Sven and Levin, don't get into fights with anyone." Levin and Sven weren't just brothers, but they were the best of friends. If you dared pick on one, know you'd have to fight off two. Almost every day, the boys skipped out on their tutor and hurried off to the fields where they played with the other kids in the neighborhood. But before they got there, they always made a stop. "How are you, boy? Are you hungry? Mom made bagels today." This was Yorick. Levin and Sven spotted this dog in the exact same spot every day on their way to the field. And what started as a once-in-a-while thing became a ritual because they knew Yorick would be waiting for them. The boys always remembered to bring a treat for their little buddy, and over the days, Yorick had bonded with them a lot. The dog followed them to the field and sat around to watch them play. And Levin and Sven sometimes even played fetch with the dog. "Aw, man, the ball fell in the pond. How are we gonna get it? Mom isn't gonna spare us today if we return home all muddy, okay?" "Thanks, buddy. You can't find a friend like Yorick." As the boys played with Yorick, they suddenly felt a tap on their shoulder. They turned around to see a big, broad 13-year-old behind them, who looked a whole lot similar to someone. But who? Who? Twerp. Levin and Sven stared at the twerp walk out from behind his big brother with a smirk on his face. "They took my ball, brother." "What? This isn't your ball, you liar." "Which one was it, Derek?" Derek's brother said, cracking his knuckles. "Him," the twerp shouted, pointing at Sven. "Are you gonna give the ball, or do you want to say hello to this fist?" "You don't scare us," Sven bravely said. But deep down inside, he was a little skeptic if he would win this one. The brothers passed each other a glance as the twerp and his brother cackled on. But just as Derek's brother was to throw a punch at Levin, Yorick suddenly began barking. The dog ran between them and aggressively charged at Derek. "Go, boy, go!" "Get out of here!" But just as Derek's brother tried to kick Yorick away, the dog almost bit him. Afraid and bewildered, the tough, big, brute 13-year-old fled as his twelfth brother followed after, and Yorick after them. Sven shouted at them, laughing his guts out. "Yeah, run like a scaredy cat. Who's the sissy now?" "You idiot, we only got away because of Yorick." That day, Yorick followed after the boys all the way back home as if protecting them. However, when they reached near the house, Mrs. Van Dyke frowned at the sight of the stray dog. Shoo from here." Yorick suddenly started barking at Mrs. Van Dyke as the boys tried to calm him down. "It's all right, Yorick, this is Mom, the one that makes the awful bagels," Sven whispered. "Sven, don't touch that thing, go wash your hands." "Mom, this is Yorick, he's a good dog, can we keep him?" "Absolutely not, who knows where it came from?" Mrs. Van Dyke pulled her boys inside and closed the fence on the dog. Sven and Levin had been watching Yorick from the window all evening. Yorick had quietly nestled under the shade of a tree outside their fence. "The dog hasn't left yet? This is why you don't play with stray animals." But despite the disapproval of Mrs. Van Dyke, from then on Yorick always roamed around the house waiting for Sven and Levin to come out. Together they would go out to play, and when they returned, Yorick would return back as well to his new home. "Luke, you have to get rid of that dog. It's been roaming around the house for the past week now." "No, Dad, please. Please, Dad, we like him. Can we keep him?" "Oh, what's the issue, Sophie? It's not like the dog ever comes inside. It's always sitting out." Mrs. Van Dyke sighed as she went to make breakfast. "One of these days that dog is going to attack me. It's always barking at me when I go out." She opened up the cupboard, confused to see the bottle of milk she collected this morning was empty. "Sven, Levin, you boys! What do you think you boys are doing?" "Mom, Yorick was hungry." Mrs. Van Dyke was getting tired of the boys taking food out to this dog. She would wake up in the morning to find the cookies in the cabinet gone, or go to make lunch and find the bread basket half empty. It was on one of these mornings, however, Mrs. Van Dyke woke up bright and early to get a head start on the day. But as soon as she went out to the yard, she sighed, seeing the dog still sitting where it usually did. "Still a long day to go," she said, picking up the bucket to head to the well. It was some time later that morning that Sven and Levin woke up hearing Yorick barking continuously outside. When they rushed out to their room, they found their father heading downstairs. "That dog has been barking for so long now. Maybe your mother was right. It's time you boys get rid of it." Sven and Levin jumped down the flight of stairs and made it out the door before their father to find Yorick had jumped over the fence into the yard. He never did that. As soon as the dog saw them, he rushed to them and began jumping and barking. "What is it, boy? What's wrong?" Yorick suddenly bit onto Levin's pants and began pulling him. "What happened? What's gotten into that dog?" "I don't know, Dad. He never behaves like this." Sven pulled Yorick loose from his brother, when all of a sudden the dog jumped out of his arms and ran towards the well. That's when the family heard a faint, weary voice from the bottom of the well. "Sven, Levin, where are you boys?" "Sophie? Luke, help me up!" Mr. Van Dyke immediately got a rope and threw it down to his wife. When Mrs. Van Dyke was finally up, soaking in water, she cried out, "I fell in there almost an hour ago. Couldn't you all hear me?" "We were all sleeping, Sophie." Sven and Levin rubbed Yorick's back. "If it wasn't for Yorick, we wouldn't have found you. He brought us here." From that day, Mr. Van Dyke allowed the boys to bring Yorick inside, although the dog was only allowed to stay out in the yard. Sven and Levin then built a small doghouse for Yorick, and over the days, they even caught their mother going out to meet him. Sven and Levin were out one morning on one of their many adventures. Oftentimes, they would venture out far into the forest near their home. And along with them, now Yorick was always there. After a long day, the boys sprinted through the forest path, collecting a few pebbles on their way back home. When they suddenly spotted a broken-down house, they had never taken this exact route before. And looks like they found an awesome hideout today. They stepped onto the porch and opened the creaking door. Looks like an old house of worship. Creepy. Come on, let's go inside. The two boys walked into a dusty room. Old benches now covered in spider webs, holes in the roof, and to the far front, an altar with now shriveled up flowers laying to the ground. This place is pretty cool, we have to tell the others, Sven said as his voice echoed. Or we can make this our own secret place. All of a sudden, the boys were startled by a rustling sound beneath the benches. They thought it was Yorick, but they turned to see Yorick sitting by the door. As they walked down the aisle checking the rows, they flinched seeing a snake jump out and hiss at them. It's a viper! Get a stick, get something! But the boys suddenly found themselves cornered. The snake lifted up its body, about to jump onto them, when Yorick suddenly hurled himself on top of it. Sven and Levin ran to the door as they watched Yorick wrestle with the snake until he suddenly cried out. We have to help him. The boys grabbed a few sticks from outside and rushed back in to see the snake had slithered away, but Yorick was laying on the ground, crouched up. It bit him, Levin said, holding the dog's leg. Let's take him home quickly. Sven and Levin ran all the way home with Yorick in their arms. They called their parents out, who told them to let the dog rest. Mr. Van Dyke brought out some warm water and washed the dog's wound. However, as the afternoon passed, Yorick's cries only got louder. His leg is swelling up. Mom, Dad, we have to do something. Sophie, why don't you call Miss Hansen? She might have something with her. Miss Hansen was a village doctor who lived nearby. Mrs. Van Dyke brought her over that evening. However, she wasn't able to suggest anything. Do you boys know what snake it was? Yes, it almost attacked us. It was a viper. I'm sorry, boys. There isn't much I can do. There is no remedy to its venom. Sven and Levin stayed with Yorick the rest of the evening, trying to comfort him, but nothing seemed to work. Boys, it's time you go inside. It's getting late. The boys heavy-heartedly covered Yorick with a blanket and went inside. They barely had a few morsels of food that night and went to bed. Levin, what are we going to do? Keep patience, Sven. Maybe tomorrow he'll be better. But it was difficult to sleep with Yorick crying on and on late into the night from the pain. And it was sometime near midnight that the boys overheard their parents speaking. We have to do this, Sophie. It's better than letting the dog suffer. Is there no other way? I wish there was. He's suffering. We have to relieve him from his pain. Sometimes it's not easy taking the right decision, but you have to do it. Sven suddenly became anxious as he heard his father open the door and his footsteps go down the stairs. No! He shouted out, but Levin held him back. Levin, let me go! Sven, stop. Father is right. He's in pain. He's not going to make it. The brothers huddled by their window as they watched their father walk out to Yorick's doghouse. Tears fell from their eyes as they stared at Yorick struggling to get up upon seeing their father. Mr. Van Dyke laid him down, rubbing his head. Easy, boy, easy. Their hearts raced as Levin and Sven shut their eyes, and in moments, they listened to the sound of their father's rifle. I'm sorry, boy. You were truly man's best friend. Rest in peace. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.